I had been planning this trip for months. My parents had always dreamed of going to Japan, but they never had the money for it. So when I finally saved enough, I surprised them with an all-expenses-paid, luxurious one-week vacation. Flights, a five-star hotel in Tokyo, a private guided tour. I handled everything. I even booked myself a ticket so we could experience it together. It felt good to do something special for them. At least, it did until the day of the flight. The morning of the trip, I pulled up to my parents' house, grinning. They were already waiting outside with their luggage. My mom looked thrilled, practically bouncing on her heels. My dad had this proud, satisfied expression like he couldn't wait to tell his coworkers about the trip his son had gifted him. But something was off, because standing next to them, holding a duffel bag, was my brother, Jake. I frowned. What's he doing here? My mom beamed at me. Oh, we didn't tell you. She reached over and patted Jake's arm. Your brother is coming instead of you. I blinked, thinking I must have misheard her. What? Jake smirked. Yeah, man. Mom and Dad decided I should go instead. You know, I've been super stressed lately. Stressed? Stressed? Jake, who hadn't worked a job in 2 years. Jake, who spent his days playing video games in the basement, somehow needed a vacation more than me? I looked at my mom, waiting for her to say this was a joke. She wasn't joking. Honey, we just thought Jake could use this trip more than you, she said sweetly. You already travel for work sometimes, and this is a once-in-a-lifetime experience for him. I turned to my dad. Surely, he would back me up. Nope. He just shrugged and said, it's already decided. Let's go. We don't want to be late. Like that was the end of it, like it was their trip to decide. I clenched my jaw, my grip tightening on the steering wheel. 1,000 things ran through my mind. How unfair this was, how ungrateful they were, how much I wanted to scream at them for treating me like a freaking ATM. But I didn't say anything. I just exhaled slowly and said, all right, let's go. And I started driving. The whole way to the airport, Jake sat in the back, giddy as hell, talking about all the anime merch he was going to buy and how he couldn't wait to live it up in my hotel suite. My mom laughed, saying how much he deserved this. I kept my eyes on the road. When we arrived at the terminal, they all got out, stretching and chatting, completely oblivious. I popped the trunk so they could grab their luggage. My mom kissed my cheek and said, we'll send you pictures. Love you, sweetie. Jake grinned. Thanks for the free trip, man. My dad clapped me on the back. You're a good son. I smiled. For the first time since they dropped this on me, I genuinely smiled. Because they had no idea what was coming. I watched as they walked inside, dragging their suitcases, full of excitement. Then I pulled out my phone. I opened the airline app and I tapped cancel. Their one-way tickets, gone. They had no idea. Not yet. But soon, they'd reach the check-in counter, hand over their passports, and everything would fall apart. I got back in the car, pulled away from the curb, and waited for the first text to come in. Any minute now. My phone buzzed before I even made it out of the airport parking lot. Mom texted, honey, there's a problem with the tickets. The airline says they were canceled. I smirked. Oh, really? That's strange. Another text came through almost immediately after. Mom texted, call me. Now. I let the phone ring as I pulled onto the highway. Then came the third text. Dad texted, did you mess something up with the booking? Fix this. There it was. The demanding tone I knew all too well. I took my time before responding, making sure they stewed for a few minutes. I pictured them standing at the counter, flustered, trying to understand how their free vacation had suddenly vanished. Finally, I texted back. Oh, yeah, I canceled everything. Hope Jake enjoys his trip. The reply came instantly. Mom texted, what do you mean you canceled it? Dad texted, get back here now and fix this. Jake texted, dude, what's happening? I chuckled, taking the exit toward my apartment. I could just imagine the scene unfolding at the check-in counter. My mom freaking out, demanding to speak to a manager. My dad angrily checking his credit card balance, realizing he didn't have enough to rebook the flights, and Jake, I bet he was standing there like a lost puppy, finally understanding that for once in his life, something wasn't going to be handed to him. My phone rang again. Mom. I picked up this time, but before I could say anything, she shrieked, you canceled the trip. Why? Oh, I don't know, I said casually. Maybe because you stole my vacation and gave it to Jake? She scoffed, like I was being ridiculous. We didn't steal anything. We made a decision as a family. No, I cut her off. You made a decision. Without me. After I paid for everything. It was for the best, she said firmly. Jake needed this more than you. Then Jake can pay for it himself. I snapped. Silence. For the first time, she didn't have a response. Then she started up again, her voice turning sickly sweet. Honey, listen. There's been a misunderstanding. Just rebook the flights, okay? We'll talk about this when we get back. I laughed. She really thought I'd cave. Yeah. No, I said. You guys have a great trip, though. Oh, wait. I pretended to think. You don't have one anymore. And then I hung up. I didn't even bother reading the text that came flooding in after, because for once, they were learning what it felt like to be left behind. And it felt damn good. By the time I got home, my phone had blown up with calls and texts. Mom 5 missed calls. Dad 3 missed calls. Jake 2 missed calls. And 1 pathetic text, bro. You're actually doing this. Damn right. I grabbed a drink from the fridge, sat on my couch, and finally checked the messages, half expecting some last-ditch guilt trip from my mom. Instead, she'd gone full meltdown mode. Mom texted, I can't believe you would do this to your own family. After everything we've done for you, you turn around and act like a spoiled brat? We're stranded at the airport. What do you expect us to do now? I smiled. Exactly. Dad's texts were just as predictable. Fix this now. You're embarrassing us. This isn't funny. Jake, of course, had the most infuriating response of all. He texted, Dude, just book another flight. You can afford it. That made me see red. I could afford it. Like this was my problem to fix. Like I hadn't already paid for their entire trip, only to be tossed aside at the last minute like I didn't matter. I took my time before responding. I texted, Oh, I absolutely can afford it. But you know what? I don't think I will. Mom texted, You selfish little blocked. Dad texted, You better not, blocked. Jake texted, Bro, I'm your brother. I replied, Then act like it. Blocked. I set my phone down, exhaling. The silence was beautiful. No more entitled demands. No more guilt trips. No more being treated like a damn wallet instead of a son. I could almost hear the chaos unfolding at the airport, the frustration, the realization that they weren't going anywhere. And the best part, they had no backup plan. That's what made this so perfect. They had expected me to fix it, to be the reliable, responsible one, to bend over backwards so they could continue treating me like garbage. But now, they were completely and utterly stuck, and I wasn't lifting a damn finger to help. I stretched out on the couch, feeling more relaxed than I had in years. The sheer satisfaction of knowing they were stuck at the airport, scrambling, panicking, and I didn't have to deal with it. Beautiful. No more calls. No more texts. Just peace. For the first time in forever, I had control. I turned on the TV, scrolling through channels absent-mindedly, but I couldn't stop picturing the absolute meltdown happening at the airport. Mom? Freaking out at the airline staff, probably demanding they fix their mistake. Dad? Silent and fuming. He was never good at handling things when they didn't go his way. Jake? Confused, helpless. No one had ever told him no before. And the best part? Their tickets were one way. That was something I had planned intentionally, because the return flight was supposed to be a surprise. I had booked a premium class return trip for us after a full week in Japan. The best seats, lounge access, the whole deal. I was going to surprise them with it on our last day. But since they decided to swap me out for Jake, well, that return trip didn't exist anymore. They'd have to buy new tickets to come back. And international flights? Not cheap. I almost wished I could see their faces when they realized that. But nope. Blocked. I ordered takeout, ate in peace, and for the first time in my life, I felt like I had finally won. And that's when I had an idea. A really, really fun idea. Because, see, my parents had always been image-obsessed. They cared a lot about what people thought of them. Family, friends, coworkers, even random neighbors. They loved bragging about their perfect family. Loved posting their vacations, their fancy dinners, their hard-earned luxuries. But they didn't pay for any of it. I did. And now? I wasn't going to let them pretend. So I grabbed my laptop, pulled up Facebook, and started typing a post. It was time to set the record straight. I stared at the blank post box for a moment, debating how to phrase it. If I went too nuclear, they'd just try to play the victim to everyone, twisting the story like they always did. No, I needed to be smart. So I started typing, wishing my parents and Jake an amazing trip to Japan. I was supposed to go with them, but at the airport, they decided to take Jake instead. Hope they enjoy the non-refundable, one-way tickets I paid for. Short. Sweet. Devastating. I hit post. Within minutes, the comments started rolling in. Aunt Lisa said, Wait, what? They ditched you last minute, cousin Brandon said. Dude. Wild. Are they even coming back? Old family friend commented. What kind of parents do this? My phone buzzed with dozens of notifications, and I couldn't stop grinning. This was perfect, and then, the cherry on top, a friend messaged me a screenshot from my mom's Facebook page. She had tried to post one of her usual bragging vacation updates. Finally off to Japan. A well-deserved trip with family, red heart, so grateful. The comments? Absolutely roasting her. Aunt Lisa commented, You mean the trip your son paid for? Uncle Mike said, Didn't you ditch him last minute? Some random friend. Damn. Cold. And just like that, my mom's post disappeared. I laughed so hard I nearly dropped my drink. Checkmate. But then, a knock at my door. I froze. It was late. Too late for visitors. And I already knew who it was. I set my drink down, took a deep breath, and walked to the door. Through the peephole, I saw a familiar face. My dad. Standing there. Alone. His jaw was tight, his hands shoved in his pockets, the same way he always looked when he was about to try and fix a problem he caused. I debated ignoring it. Letting him stew. Letting him feel the helplessness that I had felt for years. But no. I wanted to hear what he had to say. I opened the door. He didn't even wait for an invitation inside. Just pushed past me and stepped into my apartment. I shut the door behind him. Didn't expect to see you here. Thought you'd be halfway to Japan by now. His eyes were cold. We need to talk. I crossed my arms. Do we? Enough games. His voice was tight. You need to fix this. I laughed. Oh? And what exactly do you think I'm going to fix? He exhaled sharply, like he was holding back from yelling. Good. Let him simmer. You humiliated your mother. I raised an eyebrow. I humiliated her? Or did she humiliate herself by pulling this stunt at the airport? Dad clenched his jaw, silent. That meant I was right. You don't understand the position you've put us in, he finally said. I scoffed. Oh no, did my little Facebook post ruin her perfect image? I tilted my head mockingly. Did people finally see through the bullshit? Dad exhaled, stepping closer. You're going to delete it. I smirked. No, I don't think I will. His nostrils flared. This isn't funny. No, it's hilarious. I leaned back against the counter. Tell me, Dad, did it finally hit you? Did you finally realize that I'm not your personal ATM? Dad opened his mouth, then closed it. That moment of hesitation? Victory. For the first time in my life, I had the upper hand. You messed up, I continued. You threw me away like I didn't matter. Now you get to deal with the consequences. His hand twitched like he wanted to slam something. Instead, he took a deep breath and went for a different approach. Listen. His voice softened, shifting into manipulation mode. I get that you're upset. Maybe we handled things badly. But this, he gestured vaguely. This isn't the way. You're family. We don't turn on each other like this. I stared at him. Funny, I said. I could have sworn that's exactly what you did to me this morning. His face darkened. We're leaving in a few hours. You need to fix this now. I smiled. I think we're done here. I opened the door, motioning for him to leave. For a moment, he just stood there, silent, seething. Then, finally, he walked out. I shut the door behind him and locked it. Now all that was left was waiting to see how this disaster played out. I stood there in the silence of my apartment, feeling a strange sense of calm wash over me. It was like the tension had finally melted away. My father was out there somewhere, probably still fuming, but I didn't care. I was done being their punching bag, their fallback plan. As I sank back onto the couch, I pulled my phone out again, watching the comments on my post explode. It felt like I was finally getting the recognition I deserved, not from my parents, but from everyone else. Friends, family, even distant acquaintances. They were all standing up for me in a way my own family never had. The support was overwhelming. It felt like I was finally getting the respect I'd been denied for years. But then my phone buzzed again. Jake. I hesitated, but curiosity got the better of me. I opened the message. He texted, Bro, what the hell did you do? This isn't funny. You're making everything worse. I couldn't help but laugh. Jake texted again, You ruined Mom's trip. You know how much this means to her. And Dad's pissed. Fix this. I had to stop myself from throwing the phone across the room. Fix this. Fix what? The mistake of putting my own needs last for years while they walked all over me. I typed back, the words flowing almost too easily. Funny how you're acting like the victim here, Jake. You're the one they picked, right? You should be grateful. They decided you were worth more than me. So enjoy the trip. I'm not fixing a damn thing. I sent it. feeling a weird mix of satisfaction and guilt. But mostly, I just felt free. I leaned back in the chair and stared at the ceiling, thinking about how the whole family dynamic had come to this. Mom and Dad had always favored Jake. He was the youngest, the one who never had to work hard for anything. And I was the dependable one, the one who did everything they asked of me, without ever getting so much as a thank you. Now, though, I was starting to see things clearly. Jake was a spoiled brat, but at least he knew he was getting special treatment. What I didn't realize until now was that it wasn't just about Jake being spoiled. It was about how they'd been treating me like I was a tool. A convenient one, to be used when needed, then discarded when they decided they wanted something or someone else more. I stood up and went to the window, looking down at the street below. It was late, the lights of the city glowing dimly. But my mind was on a different kind of glow now, the feeling of finally having control. Suddenly, my phone buzzed again, pulling me out of my thoughts. This time, it wasn't Jake. It was Mom. A text. Mom texted, "I hope you're proud of yourself. You've ruined everything. You'll be sorry when we get back." I almost laughed. "You'll be sorry" had always been their go-to line when they didn't get their way. I read the message one more time, letting the words sink in. This was the moment where I realized how little I cared about their apologies or their guilt trips. I put my phone down and started scrolling through the news, pretending like it didn't matter. But deep down, I knew. This was the beginning of something new. Something where I didn't just take their treatment anymore. The game had changed. And for the first time in years, I was the one holding the cards. I let my phone sit on the table, the message from my mom still open on the screen. I stared at it, waiting for the anger to bubble up again, but it didn't come. Instead, I felt a strange sense of clarity. A weight had been lifted, and I realized that the more I let myself care about their reactions, the more I was just setting myself up to be used again. For the first time, I was seeing everything for what it was. Manipulation. I scrolled through the comments again, until one caught my eye. Cousin Rachel said, "You really do deserve better than that. I'll be in town next week. Let me know if you want to grab a drink. I'm so sorry they did that to you." It hit me hard. I had family out there who actually cared about me. People who had been watching from the sidelines and had seen how unfairly I'd been treated. And that was the moment I realized I wasn't alone. They might have made me feel invisible for years, but the truth was that the world was so much bigger than my parents' narrow view of me. But my phone buzzed again. It was Jake. I almost didn't open it. I was so done with his whining. He said, "This is your fault. I told you. You were the one who ruined everything. Mom's crying. And I don't know what you thought you'd accomplish, but you've just made everything 10 times worse." My fingers itched to type something back. Something sharp, something that would put him in his place. But I stopped. He was right about one thing. This was his fault, not mine. I took a deep breath and tapped out a response that I typed. "Jake, you can't keep pretending you're the victim here. You're literally getting everything handed to you on a silver platter, and you still don't get it. Don't bother calling or texting me again. I'm done." I hit send. And then, something strange happened. Nothing. For a few moments, I sat there staring at the screen, half expecting him to come back with some dramatic reply. But it was like he couldn't argue with the truth anymore. It was just silence. And then, the silence felt good. The phone was off. I threw it on the couch and sank into the cushions, staring at the ceiling. I didn't care anymore. This had to be the hardest part, cutting them off. But now, I felt nothing but a sense of finality. A feeling that I was no longer bound by guilt or expectation. The next morning, I woke up to a stream of notifications, more messages from family and friends. It was clear that the word was out. Mom and Dad were furious, but I wasn't in the mood to care. The drama had already played out, and now it was just the waiting game. How long would it take them to get it? How long would it take for them to realize that I was done being their doormat? They were never going to admit they were wrong. That was the whole point of this. This wasn't about making them apologize or fixing things. This was about me getting closure, about setting a boundary, and about walking away from the toxic family dynamic I had been caught in for far too long. I threw on some clothes and went out to meet Cousin Rachel. It felt good to step outside, to finally feel like I had options. Like my life wasn't defined by the dysfunction of my parents. That we grabbed a drink and talked for hours. It was surreal how easy it was to talk to someone who actually listened. As the night went on, I realized how much I had been missing out on by keeping my head down and trying to fix a broken relationship that was never going to get bettered. It wasn't until the next week that I got the call that I was sitting in my apartment, Checking my email when my phone rang. It was mom. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, weighing my options. I could ignore it, but I wasn't sure I had the strength for that. So I answered, "Hello." Her voice came through, shaky, a little broken. We've been talking. Your dad and I. And we know we messed up." I almost laughed. But instead, I let her talk. "We shouldn't have treated you like this. It was wrong. I don't expect you to forgive us, but we want to make things right." There was nothing in me that felt like I owed her forgiveness. But there was something else too. Something that surprised me. I didn't care. I wasn't angry. I wasn't going to keep carrying the weight of their mistakes on my shoulders. "I'm glad you're finally seeing it," I said, my voice steady. "But I'm not coming back. I've been doing just fine without you too, and I'm not going to let you keep dragging me into your drama." There was a pause on the other end. And then, in the most calm voice I could muster, I said, "Goodbye, Mom." And I hung up. The silence that followed felt like freedom. I don't plan on speaking to my family again. I've finally chosen to put myself first, but I'd love to hear what you all think. Am I being too harsh, or did I do the right thing?